By the end of this video, you will learn that you can't have it all. The normal of the story, moral, ignoring the reality of trade-offs is a terrible strategy for organizations. Turns out to be a terrible strategy for people as well. Have you ever spent time with someone who's always trying to fit just one more thing in, who always tries to go above and beyond? You're doing too much. Anyways, sometimes it's necessary, but not always. Such people know they have 10 minutes to get to a meeting that takes 10 minutes to walk to, but they'll sit down to take a few emails. Or they promise to swing by their cousin's birthday party on Saturday night, even though they already have tickets to a show that starts at the exact same time. Their logic, which ignores the reality of trade-offs, is I can do both. The important problem is that this logic is false. Inevitably, they are late to the meeting, they miss one or both of their deadlines, they either don't make it to their cousin's celebration, miss the show. The reality is, saying yes to any opportunity means saying no to any other one, which is common sense. You can't say yes to this and yes to doing something else at the exact same time. It's not possible. Can't believe you have to say that. Trade-offs are real, and in our personal and professional life, we'll have to accept the reality that we'll be doomed to just like, wow. In the insightful op-ed for the New York Times, Eric Callan, the former CFO of Lehman Brothers, shared what she had sacrificed in making defaults. She wrote, I didn't start off with the goal of devoting all myself to the job. It crept over in time. Each year that went by, slight modifications became the new normal. First, I spent a half hour on Sunday organizing my email, to-do list, and calendar to make Monday morning easier. Then I was working a few hours on Sunday, then all day. My boundaries slipped away until work was all that left. The story demonstrates a critical truth. We can either make the hard choice for ourselves or allow other people to make the hard choices for us. In my work, I've noticed that senior executives of companies are among the worst at accepting the reality of trade-offs. I recently spent some time with the CEO of a company in Silicon Valley, valued at $40 billion. He shared with me the value statement of his organization, which he had just crafted, in which he planned to announce the whole company. But when he shared it, I cringed. We value passion, innovation, execution, and leadership. The worst problem with this list was who doesn't value those things? Literally every single organization in the world you can name. Goodwill, fucking any any corporation, they value these things too. Another problem is that this tells employees nothing about what the company values most. It says nothing about what those choices the employees should make that are so high stake. This is similarly true when companies claim that their mission is to serve all stakeholders, clients, companies, shareholders equally. To say they value everyone equally with interactions leaves managers with no clear guidance on what to do when faced with trade-offs between the people they serve. I once worked in an executive team that needed help with their prioritization. They were struggling to identify the top 5 projects they wanted their IT department to complete over the next fiscal year. She insisted on naming 18. No. So the truth is, we'll always have trade-offs. We'll always have to say yes to one thing, but we can't say no. We can't say yes to the other thing. We have to learn to sacrifice our choices because the more choices you have, the worse you'll do. Further into this book, I'll go over it soon, but the concept that you can't do it all. This entire book is the concept that you can't do it all. She insisted on naming 18 top priority projects but I insisted that she choose five. She took her list back to her team, and 2 weeks later she returned the list she had managed to shorten by one project. I always wondered what it was about that one lone project that didn't make the cut. By refusing to make trade-offs, she ended up spreading the five projects with her time and effort across 17 projects. She didn't get the results she wanted because her logic was, we can do it all. Fuck no. It is so easy to see why it's tempting to deny the reality of trade-offs. After all, by definition, a trade-off involves two things we want. Do you want more pay? Or do you want more vacation time? Do you want to finish his next email? Or be on time for your next meeting? Do you want it done faster or better? Obviously, when faced with the choice between two things we want, the preferred answer is, I'd like them both. But as much as we like them, we cannot have it all. A non-essentialist approaches every trade-off by asking, how can I do both? Essentialists ask the tougher, ultimate question by saying, which one do I want more? Which one will serve me more? Which problem do I want? An essentialist makes trade-offs deliberately. She acts for herself rather than wanting to be acted upon. Thomas Sowell wrote, there are no solutions but only trade-offs. Trade-offs represent a significant opportunity. By forcing us to weigh both options and strategically select the best one we want, we significantly increase our chance of achieving the outcome we want. Like Southwest, we can enjoy the success that results from making a consistent set of choices. I observed an example of this on a flight to Boston, when I began chatting with two parents who were on their way to visit the son with Harvard. They were proud their son was there, and I was curious about the strategy they had tried to get him in there. And they said, we had him try out a bunch of different activities, and as soon as it became clear he wasn't going to make it his big priority, they dropped him out of it. Actually, some parents have support you. It's nice. This logic holds true in our personal lives as well. When we were newlyweds, Anna and I met someone who had, as far as we could tell, an amazing marriage in secret. We wanted to learn from them, so we asked, what's your secret? One of the things he told us was that he and his wife had decided not to be a part of any clubs. He didn't join the local band, she didn't join the book clubs. It wasn't that they had no interest in these things, it was simply that they couldn't make the trade-off of having those two things over their children. They value the children more. Essentialists see trade-offs as an inherent part of life, not as an inherently negative part of life. Instead of asking, what do I have to give up? They ask, what do I want to go big on? The cumulative impact of this small change in thinking can make everything go crazier. I'm not here to suggest that living the way of the essentialists requires us to decide between our family's health and work. What I am suggesting is when faced with a decision where one option prioritizes family and other prioritizes friends, health, or work, we need to be prepared to ask, which problem do you want to solve? Would you like to solve the problems of a carpenter or the problems of a chef? The problems that you want to solve is how you'll become successful. Entirely. Trade-offs are not something to be ignored or discredited. They are something to be embraced and made deliberately, strategically, and thoughtfully.